Two suns hung in the sky, their pale light falling over a quiet valley. The land was covered with strange glowing plants that swayed gently in the warm wind. In the middle of this valley stood a small hill, and on that hill was a fresh grave. An alien mother knelt there, her skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight. Her long arms trembled as she touched the mound of soil. She did not move for hours, she only wept. Her tears left shining trails down her cheeks and fell into the dirt, each drop glowing like liquid fire before fading away. Her people lived close by, in a village of curved houses built from stone and crystal. They kept their distance from the hill. They whispered in sorrow and in anger. Some blamed the humans, some cursed the stars. Others spoke that it was the punishment of war. But no one dared disturb the grieving mother. She had lost her child, or so she believed. Her little one had been caught in the storm when human ships flew above the sky. The humans brought war to this world. They burned forests and shattered mountains with their machines. And though the battle ended far away, fear spread across every village. In the chaos, the mother's child vanished. And days later, only a broken cradle was found near the river. The elders said the child was gone, that the spirit had left, so a grave was built. The mother never truly accepted it. In her heart she felt an emptiness that words could not heal. She remembered her child's laugh, the way its small hands glowed when it touched her face, the sound of its gentle breathing as it slept. These memories cut deeper than any wound. She pressed her forehead to the soil of the grave. Her voice cracked as she whispered songs of mourning, songs passed down for generations. The air itself seemed to listen. The valley grew still, only the soft hum of insects remained. In her sorrow, she did not notice the details. The grave was light, too light. The soil was not heavy as if carrying a body. Inside the coffin was not flesh but an empty shell, placed there by the elders to give her peace. But she did not know. She believed her child rested below, and that belief broke her. Night slowly came. The two suns sank behind the mountains. Stars appeared in the violet sky. Still she remained, her hands digging into the dirt, her voice a whisper, her tears endless. Villagers came to leave food and water for her, but none could comfort her. None dared to tell her that her grief was shaping the whole village. Her sorrow was their sorrow. Far away, beyond the valley, beyond the hills, a human outpost glowed with cold lights. There, in a hidden room, a small figure breathed, weak but alive. The mother did not know. She only wept, her cries reaching the stars, her heart chained to the tiny grave. Her people gathered quietly around the village fire that night. The flames danced and the elders spoke. They said humans were cruel, that they destroyed life wherever they went, that nothing good could come from them. Their voices were filled with bitterness, but deep inside, some of them also feared the truth, because they too had seen strange signs, small footprints near the river days after the battle, faint lights in the forest, whispers in the night carried by the wind. The mother stayed by the grave until her body grew weak, but she refused to leave. Her eyes swollen from tears, her chest heavy with pain. She thought of the time she held her child close, the warmth, the soft voice, the promise she made to protect it always. Now that promise felt broken, and the weight crushed her. Yet the stars above seemed to flicker differently that night, as if they were watching, as if they were keeping a secret. Her child was not gone. Her tears fell for an empty grave, but she did not know. The valley lay silent except for her sobs. The wind moved gently, carrying her voice far across the land, carrying it toward the human outpost where a soldier sat awake, listening to the faint cries of a child, a cry that matched the rhythm of a mother's grief. And so the night grew heavy. The mother wept, unaware that destiny was already moving, unaware that her child's story was not finished, unaware that far beyond the hills, a human had broken every rule to keep a fragile life alive. The grave was not an ending. It was only the beginning. In the human outpost, built from steel and humming with machines, the nights were long and filled with silence. Soldiers moved like shadows through narrow halls, their boots echoing on the metal floors. Orders were strict, rules were unbreakable, and mercy was rare. Yet in one hidden chamber, a secret lived, a secret that no one in the base could imagine. Inside a small medical room, covered with cold blue light, a human soldier sat near a glass chamber, his eyes heavy from lack of sleep, his heart beating with worry. Inside that chamber lay an alien child, weak, trembling, but alive. The soldier's name was forgotten by history, but in that moment, he was more than a soldier. He was a protector, He leaned close to the glass and whispered softly, even though he knew the child did not understand his words. He spoke anyway, because words carried warmth, and warmth was life. He remembered the battlefield, the fire that rained from the sky, the screams of both human and alien voices mixing together. He remembered running through the smoke, his armor heavy, his orders clear. He was told to leave no survivors, to move fast, to return to base. But then he heard it, a faint cry, so small, almost swallowed by the roar of war. He followed the sound and found a shattered cradle. Inside, half buried in dust and ash, was the alien child. Its tiny chest rising and falling with weak breaths, its glowing skin dim but still alive. For one moment he hesitated because his training screamed at him to walk away, but his heart shouted louder, so he lifted the child into his arms, hiding it beneath his cloak, and carried it back through the ruins. From that day, his life was no longer his own. Every night he sneaked into the hidden medical room, feeding the child drops of water, bits of carefully prepared food. He studied old alien notes he had stolen from a battlefield library, trying to understand how their bodies worked. Their blood glowed faintly in the dark. Their hearts beat in strange rhythms. He failed many times, but he never gave up. He sang to the child, old human songs from his childhood, songs of hope and comfort. The alien child stared at him with wide eyes, not understanding the words but feeling the meaning. Once, the child reached out with a trembling, glowing hand and touched his finger. The soldier froze, then smiled, tears filling his eyes. He whispered, "You're safe now, I promise." But promises in war were dangerous. The base was filled with eyes, soldiers who noticed every movement, every missing supply. The soldier knew if they discovered his secret, he would face trial, punishment, even death. And worse, the child would be taken away, studied, cut open in the name of science. So he lied, he stole quietly. He worked harder during the day to hide his exhaustion. But at night, when the base grew quiet, he returned to the child, caring for it as if it were his own. Yet whispers began to spread. Another soldier noticed missing medical tools. Another wondered why the soldier spent so much time near the lower chambers. Suspicion grew like fire, unseen, but dangerous. The commander called him once, asking sharp questions. Why are you always tired? Why are the logs missing details? Why do supplies run short? The soldier gave answers, excuses, but his hands shook. His heart raced. He felt the walls of the secret room closing in. Meanwhile, the child grew a little stronger, its glow returning slowly, faint but steady. It even laughed once, a soft sound like chimes in the wind. The soldier laughed too, though his voice cracked with fear and hope mixed together. He knew this fragile life was a light in the darkness. But each night he also felt dread. He could hear footsteps outside the door sometimes. Soldiers moving past, stopping, listening, the air growing tense. One mistake, one wrong move, and the secret would be revealed. Still, he could not abandon the child, because deep inside he knew, if humanity was ever to be remembered, it would not be for its machines or its wars or its weapons. It would be for moments like this, for the choice to protect instead of destroy, for the choice to give life instead of take it. The soldier leaned back in his chair, staring at the child breathing softly in the chamber, his mind heavy with fear, his soul burning with hope. He whispered again, "They will never find you, not while I breathe." But outside, in the halls of steel, rumors continued to grow. Suspicion followed him like a shadow, and fate was already moving. The secret of the human and the alien child could not stay hidden forever. And soon the world would learn what kind of promise a human heart was willing to keep. The nights in the human outpost grew colder, steel walls trapped the chill, and silence pressed against every corridor. Inside the hidden chamber, the soldier sat close to the glass pod, his eyes never leaving the child. The alien's small chest rose and fell in uneven rhythm, each breath sounding like a struggle. He knew the child's life balanced on a thin edge. One mistake, one wrong choice, and the glow in its skin would vanish forever. He worked without rest, mixing strange herbs he had gathered from the battlefield with human medicine, testing, failing, trying again. Sometimes the child's breathing slowed to almost nothing, and his hands shook as he whispered, "Stay with me, please stay." The child's body was delicate, thinner than a human baby. Its veins glowed faintly under the skin like threads of light. Sometimes the glow dimmed so much it frightened him. He feared he was only delaying the end, yet he refused to stop. At night he told it stories, even though he doubted it understood. He spoke of oceans on Earth, wide and blue, where waves danced in sunlight. He spoke of forests full of green leaves, of rain that washed the dust away. The alien child listened with wide, tired eyes, its tiny fingers pressed against the glass as if reaching for the world he described. One evening, after many days, the child made a sound, a weak but clear sound, almost like a laugh. The soldier froze, his heart leapt. He pressed his hand to the glass, tears filled his eyes, and he whispered, "You're fighting. You're still fighting." That sound gave him new strength, new reason to keep trying. But the child's weakness was not the only danger. Outside the chamber, suspicion grew. Soldiers counted supplies and found rations missing. One swore he had heard strange noises at night. The commander ordered patrols through the lower levels. The walls around the secret grew tighter. The soldier carried his fear like a shadow, but when he entered the hidden room and saw the child, everything else vanished. He felt only one duty, to keep this fragile life alive. Days turned to weeks. The child slowly began to change, its glow steadier, its eyes brighter. It learned to stand with trembling legs inside the pod. Once it stumbled and fell, and the soldier rushed in, catching it, holding it close. The child rested its glowing head against his chest, and for a moment the soldier forgot war, forgot rules, forgot fear. He only felt the warmth of life against him. He whispered again, "You're not alone, not anymore." Still, every step outside the chamber was heavy with dread. Whispers followed him in the mess hall. Questions came sharper from officers. He slept less, ate less, his body weak, but his will stronger than ever. One night, as he returned with food hidden under his cloak, he saw a shadow in the hallway, another soldier watching him. The eyes narrowed, the figure slipped away without a word, his heart froze. He knew discovery was close. Inside the chamber, he fed the child quietly. Though his hands trembled, he whispered, "They're watching. I don't know how long we have." The child touched his cheek with glowing fingers, and he almost broke down. He thought of the alien mother he had never met, somewhere beyond the mountains, believing her child gone. He imagined her tears, her endless mourning, and he realized he carried not just a child, but the weight of a promise unspoken, a promise between worlds. The child grew stronger each day, but danger grew just as fast. Footsteps outside the chamber, locked doors suddenly checked, soldiers whispering in corners, the commander's sharp gaze on him during drills. He knew the end of secrecy was near, but he also knew one truth. The fragile life he had saved was no longer just an alien, it was hope. Proof that war did not erase kindness, proof that even in darkness a single human heart could choose mercy. The soldier sat late one night, the child asleep in the pod, the hum of Akines filling the room. He leaned forward, whispering to the silence, "They will come for us. I can't stop that, but I will protect you until my last breath." The chamber lights flickered, shadows danced on the walls, and far away in a valley under two suns, an alien mother dreamed, her heart stirring with a strange feeling she could not name, as if a thread still connected her to the child she believed gone. The fragile life was more than survival. It was the spark of a story that would soon ignite across two worlds. The base was never truly silent. Metal groaned in the cold. Machines hummed without pause, and footsteps echoed through narrow halls. Every sound was noticed. Every detail counted. In such a place, secrets were fragile things, and the soldier knew his secret could not stay hidden forever. Other soldiers began to whisper. Some noticed food going missing. Others saw the medic slipping away at night when he should have been resting. Once, a soldier swore he heard soft sounds from the lower chambers, like a child's faint cry, laughter even. The words spread quickly, growing sharper with every telling. "He hides something," one soldier muttered by the fire of the mess hall. "He's stealing from us," another added with anger. The commander heard these words too, and suspicion grew in his eyes. The soldier felt the weight of stares wherever he walked. He tried to move normally, to smile when spoken to eat in silence, but his hands sometimes shook. His eyes drifted back toward the hall that led to the hidden chamber. Every moment he expected someone to follow. Inside that chamber, the alien child grew stronger, its glow brighter, its steps steadier. It even learned to mimic small sounds, soft hums. The soldier smiled when he heard them, but fear burned in his chest, because every sound could betray them. Every laugh could become a death sentence. He began placing extra locks on the door, hiding supplies in different places, speaking less with others. The more he tried to hide, the more suspicion grew. Whispers in the barracks turned into questions, and questions turned into quiet investigations. One evening as he returned with a small bowl of food hidden beneath his cloak, he noticed a soldier standing at the end of the corridor, watching him. The figure turned away quickly, but the soldier's heart pounded. He knew eyes followed him now step by step. In the mess hall the commander approached him, the room falling silent. "You look tired," the commander said, his voice sharp as ice. "Yes, sir," the soldier answered quickly. "Long hours." "Long hours doing what?" the commander asked. "Maintenance, sir," he lied. But the commander's gaze cut through him, suspicion deep in his stare. That night he barely slept. He sat beside the child, watching it rest peacefully. Its glow like a small lantern in the dark. He whispered, "They're close. I don't know how much longer." The child stirred, opening its bright eyes, reaching out to touch his face, and he felt both strength and sorrow in that small gesture. Far away, in the Valley of Two Suns, the alien mother felt uneasy. Though she did not know why, she had spent another day at the grave, singing soft laments, her heart heavy. But that night she dreamed of light, a small glow moving through shadows. She woke with tears, whispering her child's name into the quiet air. Back in the outpost, tension grew like a storm. Soldiers began checking the storage rooms, counting medical supplies twice, searching quarters without warning. The soldier's heart raced with every knock at his door. He hid what he could, but he knew it was only a matter of time. Then came the moment he had feared. One night as he entered the hidden chamber, he noticed the lock had been tampered with. Scratched at the edges, his stomach twisted. Someone had tried to open it. Inside, the child was safe, still asleep, but he realized the walls were closing in. He paced the floor, thinking of plans. Escape seemed impossible, but staying was death. He whispered to the child, "I don't know how to keep you safe anymore." His voice broke, but the child reached out its glowing hand, pressing it against his, and in that moment he swore again to protect it no matter the cost. Outside, the whispers grew louder. Some soldiers demanded answers. The commander called secret meetings. Maps were laid on tables, patrols were tightened. The search for whatever was hidden had begun. The soldier felt the net drawing tighter, every step echoing like thunder, every glance a warning. He knew the time of hiding was almost over, and so he prepared, quietly, carefully, with trembling hands. He gathered what little supplies he could carry. He whispered to the child, "Soon we must leave." Though he had no path, no plan, only the fire of his promise. The whispers of discovery had become more than whispers. They were footsteps. They were eyes in the dark. They were danger pressing against the thin walls of his secret. And in the valley, beneath the stars, the alien mother looked toward the horizon, a strange feeling stirring in her chest, as if the universe itself was breathing a secret into her heart. The soldier did not know how close the hunters were, and the mother did not know how close her child was, but destiny was already moving them together, one step at a time. The outpost no longer felt like a place of duty, it felt like a trap. The soldier moved through steel corridors with eyes on his back. Whispers followed him everywhere. Every sound seemed louder, every footstep sharper. He knew the secret was close to breaking. It happened one night when the lights dimmed for evening cycle. The soldier carried a small bundle of food under his cloak, his heart heavy. As he approached the hidden chamber, he froze. The door was open. Inside, another soldier stood, his face pale in the blue glow, his eyes locked on the alien child curled up in the pod. The silence broke when the soldier whispered in disbelief, "You've been hiding this." The medic lunged forward, grabbing his arm. "Please," he begged, "don't tell them." But the other soldier's eyes burned with fear and anger. "This is treason," he hissed. "They'll kill us all if they find out." He pulled free and ran, shouting for guards. Alarms shrieked across the base, red lights flashed. The medic's chest tightened. He knew the moment had come. No more hiding, no more waiting, only running. He scooped the child into his arms, wrapping it in his cloak. The little one trembled but clung to him, glowing faintly. Soldiers stormed the halls. Their boots thundered like drums of war. Voices shouted, "Seal the exits. Find him. He has something." The medic ran through narrow passageways, his lungs burning, carrying the child close to his chest. The base became a maze of locked doors and steel walls. Every corner, another risk. Every shadow, another trap. He slipped into a maintenance tunnel, crawling on his knees with the child pressed against him. Behind him, voices echoed closer, flashlights slicing through the dark. He whispered, "Quiet, stay quiet." His heart hammering. They reached an outer hatch, but it was sealed with heavy bolts. He worked with trembling fingers, unlocking it. Every second felt like an eternity. Footsteps closed in, shouts grew louder, then finally the hatch opened with a hiss. Cold night air rushed in. He stepped out into the alien wilderness, the twin moons above casting silver light over forests of glowing trees. He did not pause. He ran, branches snapping under his boots, the child clinging to his neck. The outpost behind them filled with shouts and alarms. Search drones lifted into the sky, their red beams sweeping across the forest. Soldiers poured out with rifles in hand, scanners humming. The chase had begun. The medic darted between trees, hiding in shadows, ducking low when beams of light passed overhead. Once a drone flew so close he could hear the hum of its engine. He pressed himself against a trunk, holding the child tight, praying it would not cry. The forest seemed alive. Glowing vines twisted in the wind. Strange insects clicked and chirped, the air heavy with mist. His boots slipped on moss, his breath ragged, but he pushed on. Behind him, dogs barked, machines howled, soldiers shouted commands. The forest lit up with beams of red and white. Every second the circle closed tighter. He whispered to the child as he ran, "I won't let them take you. I won't." His words more promise than hope. Hours felt like minutes. Exhaustion dragged at his legs. His chest burned, but still he carried the child. Finally, he stumbled upon a ravine, a deep cut in the earth, water rushing below. The only way forward was across a fallen tree stretched like a bridge. He stepped onto it, the wood groaning under his weight, balancing carefully with the child clutched to him, halfway across. Lights appeared behind him. Soldiers reached the edge, their rifles raised. "Stop!" they shouted. "Drop it and come back!" The soldier did not stop. He kept moving step by step, his boots slipping on wet bark, his heart racing. The child whimpered softly, the sound tearing at his chest. Shots rang out, beams of light slicing past him, splinters flying from the tree. He stumbled but did not fall. He reached the other side and dropped into the shadows, vanishing into the thick forest. The soldiers cursed, sending drones to follow, but the forest grew denser, the mist thicker, their voices faded behind him. At last, when his body could go no further, he collapsed beneath a massive tree, clutching the child close, both of them trembling, his chest heaving. He whispered, "We made it. For now." The child touched his face with glowing fingers, its eyes wide with trust. Above them, the moon shone through the branches, silent witnesses to the chase. But the soldier knew the hunt was not over. The humans would not stop. They would search every valley, every forest, until they found him. And yet, for the first time, he was free from the prison of steel walls, free under the open sky, and somewhere beyond the mountains in a quiet valley, an alien mother stirred in her sleep, her heart beating with strange hope, as if her child's cries were carried to her across the night. The chase had only begun, and the true test of his promise was still ahead. The forest was deep and endless. Glowing plants lit the ground like fallen stars. The soldier moved through it with heavy steps, his cloak torn, his body weak. But he did not stop. The child clung to him, glowing faintly in the dark. Every breath of the little one gave him strength. Days passed in silence, broken only by the hum of distant drones searching above the trees. The soldier hid in caves under roots, inside old ruins left behind by alien hands long ago. Every night he listened for footsteps, as for voices calling his name. But instead he heard only the child's soft breathing, and that sound gave him hope. Food was scarce, his rations almost gone. He gathered fruits from the glowing vines, crushed insects when nothing else could be found. He gave the child everything first, eating only what was left. His body grew thinner, his face hollow, but he carried the child always, never letting go. One night, as the moon shone bright, the soldier reached the edge of the valley. From a ridge, he looked down and froze. There, in the distance, he saw lights of a village, soft golden fires burning, curved houses glowing under twin suns' reflection. His heart pounded, because he knew this must be the child's home. But danger walked with hope. He also knew the villagers hated humans. They blamed them for death and war. If they saw him carrying an alien child, they might not believe his story. They might strike him down before he could speak. Still, he had no choice. He had carried this fragile life through fire and steel, and now only its people could give it the future it deserved. The next night he crept closer, hiding in shadows. He reached the edge of the village, the air filled with the smell of burning wood and herbs, the sound of alien voices singing soft laments. He stayed hidden among tall grass, waiting for a chance. Then he heard it, a voice breaking through the night, low and trembling, filled with sorrow. It was the voice of a mother. The child stirred in his arms, its eyes wide. It made a faint cry, small but clear, and the soldier froze. Because that cry was answered. The song in the village stopped, replaced by silence, then hurried footsteps. An alien woman appeared, her figure glowing in the moonlight, her eyes wide with shock. She looked like the spirit of sorrow itself, yet in her face burned sudden hope. She saw the human first, her eyes filled with anger and fear, but then she saw the child in his arms. Her legs trembled, her breath caught. She whispered the child's name, the sound carrying across the grass like a prayer. The child reached out its tiny glowing hand, and in that moment, mother and child were bound together again. The soldier stepped forward slowly, his knees shaking, his voice hoarse. "I saved it," he whispered. Though he knew she might not understand his words, his heart raced, because the villagers were gathering, their faces filled with fury. They carried spears glowing with energy, their voices sharp. "Human!" they shouted. "Murderer! Enemy!" They pushed forward, ready to strike. The mother rushed to her child, snatching it into her arms, holding it close, her tears glowing like fire as they fell on the child's skin. The little one laughed softly, weak but alive. She pressed her forehead to it, whispering its name over and over. The villagers demanded blood, their voices rising. They raised their weapons toward the soldier, who dropped to his knees, too weak to fight, too tired to run. He lowered his head, ready to die, but the mother turned, standing between him and the spears. "Stop!" she cried, her voice sharp, filled with a strength born from sorrow and love. "He brought my child back." The villagers froze, their weapons trembling. "He is human," one said. "They bring only death." But the mother's voice cut through. "He gave back what the war tried to steal. He saved life when others took it." Her arms tightened around the child, her glowing tears falling to the earth. Silence fell, broken only by the child's soft breathing. The villagers stared at the soldier, broken, bleeding, yet holding no weapon. They saw his trembling hands, his hollow face, his eyes filled not with hate, but with sacrifice. The soldier whispered, barely able to speak, "Protect it." Then he collapsed, falling to the ground, darkness closing in. The mother knelt. Beside him, her child still in her arms, her other hand reaching toward the soldier. "You will not die here," she whispered. Though he did not hear, the villagers lowered their weapons slowly, confusion and awe filling their hearts. The reunion had broken the chains of hate for one night. Love had spoken louder than war, and the path ahead was forever changed. The village stood in silence, the night air heavy with tension. The human soldier lay on the ground, his body broken from the long chase, his breath shallow, his eyes half closed. The alien child rested safe in its mother's arms, glowing faintly like a small lantern. The villagers stood with weapons in their hands, their anger still burning, yet their hearts shaken by what they had seen. The mother lifted her child higher, tears glowing on her cheeks. She turned to the villagers, her voice trembling but strong. "Look," she cried, "my child lives because of him." She pointed to the fallen soldier. "He carried life back to us when war carried it away." The villagers murmured, their voices uncertain. "He is human," one whispered. "Humans bring fire and death," another said. "We cannot trust him." But the mother's words struck deeper than fear. She pressed her forehead to her child's and whispered, "Would death bring me this gift? Would hatred return my child to me?" The people lowered their weapons slowly, confusion in their eyes. The commander of the village stepped forward, his voice low. "Why would a human do this? Why risk everything for one of us?" The soldier stirred, his eyes opening faintly. He struggled to speak, his voice a rasp. "Because life matters," he whispered. "Because a child should not die for war." His words were weak, but they carried a weight stronger than steel. The mother knelt beside him, laying her child near his chest. The tiny glowing hand reached out, touching the soldier's face. The villagers gasped softly, for they saw the bond with their own eyes, not forced, not false, but real. The commander lowered his weapon fully, his voice quiet. "Perhaps we have judged too quickly," he said. "Perhaps not all humans are the same." The villagers exchanged uncertain glances, their anger melting into unease, their hatred bending into thought. The mother looked at the soldier, her tears falling onto his torn cloak. "You gave me back what I thought I had lost forever," she whispered. "Your mercy is greater than our hate." The soldier closed his eyes, exhaustion pulling him under. But a faint smile touched his lips. He had carried his promise this far. He had given back the child, and in that moment, he no longer cared if he lived or died. But the villagers did not strike him down. Instead, they lifted him gently, carrying him into one of their stone houses. The mother followed close, never letting go of her child. They laid the soldier on a bed of woven leaves, covering his wounds with glowing herbs. Their healers worked silently, their hands steady. Days passed. The soldier drifted in and out of sleep. Each time he opened his eyes, he saw the mother sitting nearby, her child resting in her arms. Sometimes the child reached for him, glowing fingers brushing his hand, and in those moments, he felt alive again. The villagers began to change too. They came to see him, not with weapons, but with questions. They asked why he saved the child, why he risked his life. He answered simply, because mercy is stronger than war. His words spread through the village, whispered by fires, carried on the wind. In time, the anger faded, replaced by something new, respect, curiosity, even hope. The villagers began to believe that not all humans were destroyers, that perhaps some carried hearts strong enough to choose mercy. The mother stood before her people, lifting her child high, her voice steady. This human gave back what war tried to steal. We cannot forget what Huns have done, but we also cannot deny what this human has done. Her words struck deep, shaping the hearts of all who listened, and so the story spread, carried from one village to another, carried across valleys and mountains, until even the stars seemed to listen. It was told not as a tale of war, but as a tale of mercy, of an alien mother who wept at a grave, and a human who gave her child back. The soldier grew stronger in time, though his body bore scars. The villagers allowed him to stay, not as a prisoner, not as an enemy, but as a guest. The mother often said, "He is family now." Her child laughed and played at his side, glowing brighter each day. The truth of humanity was no longer written only in fire and destruction. It was written in this act of mercy, in this bond between worlds. It became a seed planted in alien soil, a seed of trust that would one day grow into something greater. And as the twin suns rose over the valley, painting the sky with gold and silver, the soldier stood beside the mother and child, watching them with quiet eyes. He knew the galaxy would never forget this story. The galaxy would remember that even in the darkest war, one human chose mercy, and that mercy brought back a life, healed a mother's heart, and planted hope between two worlds. The truth of humanity was not only war, the truth of humanity was also mercy.